It was 6:47 a.m. on the frozen morning of January 11, 2024, when the first call came into the local wildlife rehabilitation center in Grand Junction, Colorado. A hiker named Lauren Nichols, on a solo sunrise trek through Dominguez Canyon, had stumbled upon something she never expected: a bloodied lynx, lying motionless near the edge of a narrow trail, its eyes half-lidded but flickering with faint life. The animal wasn't just hurt, it was broken, its back leg twisted at an unnatural angle, blood soaking the snow beneath its body, and a raw, open wound across its ribs that spoke of a brutal fight for survival. Lauren had been hiking in these canyons for years, but she had never encountered a lynx in person. They were ghosts in these parts, rare, solitary, and incredibly shy. But this one had stayed behind when it should have fled. Lauren said later that the way it looked at her, with wild pain and confusion in its eyes, shattered something inside her. She called it crying, not in the way humans cry, but something deeper, more ancient, a raw scream from nature itself. She dropped her pack, approached slowly, and sat down several feet away, speaking softly to the lynx in a trembling voice. She didn't dare touch it, but she wouldn't leave it either. She stayed with the lynx, curled up in her jacket, for over 2 hours while emergency rescue teams made their way through the icy trails. She called the animal Ash, because it looked like it had risen from fire and was fading into cold. When the wildlife rescue unit finally arrived, led by veteran handler Dave Elkins, they didn't think Ash would survive. It was one of the worst cases we'd seen all winter. Dave later told a local paper. The lynx was sedated and airlifted by helicopter to a veterinary trauma center in Denver. During the flight, Ash's breathing grew shallow, and his heart stopped twice. They revived him with adrenaline and hope. That was all they had. The surgery took over 6 hours. One leg was shattered and had to be carefully pinned together with titanium rods. The ribs were stitched internally, and dozens of smaller wounds, likely from barbed wire, and maybe even another predator, were cleaned and sutured. The vets didn't expect him to live through the night, but Ash didn't. He made it through the next, and the one after that. Every day, the staff walked into the recovery room expecting the worst, but found Ash curled up quietly in his enclosure, eyes following them, tracking every movement. He wouldn't eat at first, refusing any kind of food. It took 3 days before he licked at a rabbit broth offered by hand, and when he did, it was like a switch had flipped. He started fighting. The lynx was a fighter in the deepest, most primal sense. Despite the screws in his bones and the pain that must have shot through every inch of his body, Ash tried to stand. He failed, then tried again, over and over, until the day he managed to plant both front paws down and lift himself. It wasn't a walk, it was a defiant promise. Lauren came to visit him 2 weeks later. She hadn't been allowed before, but now the staff made an exception. When she stepped into the observation room, Ash was lying still until he saw her. Something in his posture shifted. He didn't move much, but his ears lifted slightly, his body leaning just a bit forward. It was the first time any of them had seen him react to a human that way. Lauren stayed for hours, talking to him, her voice breaking. In March, Ash was transferred back to the Grand Junction facility for monitored rehab in a larger enclosure. He could now walk, albeit with a limp, and had begun hunting live prey in controlled settings. He was getting stronger. The staff debated whether he'd ever return to the wild. Some thought the injuries were too much. Others, especially Dave, believed Ash deserved the chance. He'd drag himself through hell to spend the rest of his life in a cage. He'd say, by late April, Ash was running again, not fast, not like before, but enough to make the team believe. He could leap short distances, climb low branches, and, most importantly, he'd regained his wild edge. He no longer responded to people with softness. He hissed, he growled. He didn't want kindness anymore, he wanted distance. That was the sign. On May 7th, at exactly 6:32 a.m., the team opened the gate to a remote wildlife reserve 40 miles west of Delta, Colorado. It was uninhabited, full of dense scrub, cliffs, and prey. A drone hovered nearby to track his first movements. Ash hesitated only a moment before bounding into the trees, disappearing like a shadow born of the earth. That was the last time anyone saw Ash, up close. But 2 weeks later, camera traps picked up images of a lynx stalking a deer trail in the upper ridges. The limp was barely noticeable, and over the following weeks, the sightings increased. Scratches on trees, paw prints near a stream, and once a half-eaten rabbit carcass left beneath a pine, the calling card of a skilled hunter. Ash had returned to the wild. And not just returned, he had reclaimed it. Stories like this remind us of the resilience that still exists in nature, even when all seems lost. The lynx that cried in the canyon found his way back, because one human refused to walk past, because a rescue team fought for him, because he fought for himself. If this story touched your heart even half as much as Ash touched ours, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel. It's not just support, it's motivation to keep telling the stories that matter. Stories where life clings on by the thinnest thread and still finds a way to roar. Because out there, somewhere in the Colorado wilderness, a lynx named Ash is still running. Stay tuned for part 2 of his journey. where we uncover how Ash's story is changing conservation efforts, and how one unexpected encounter with a group of campers nearly turned tragic. Again, your support means everything. It was the evening of June 2, 2024, just past 8:15 p.m., when a group of college students camping near Canna Creek, about 30 miles southeast of Grand Junction, reported what they thought was a mountain lion prowling near their tents. They'd been roasting marshmallows when they noticed something large moving at the edge of the tree line. One of them, a biology major named Alex Meyer, grabbed a flashlight and scanned the darkness. What he saw stopped him cold. A lynx, sleek and muscular, with piercing yellow eyes and a faint limp in the back leg. The students froze, unsure if they were in danger. But the lynx didn't charge. It circled slowly, watching, sniffing at the scent of grilled food, before disappearing back into the dark. It was gone within seconds. The group didn't sleep much that night. The next morning, Alex reported the sighting to local wildlife authorities, mentioning the limp. Within hours, they had confirmed Itosh was alive, and he was hunting near human activity. While a cause for celebration, it was also a cause for concern. Lynx rarely venture near campsites, and Ash's behavior suggested he hadn't fully unlearned his time around humans. A new plan was needed. The reserves team decided to intervene carefully, not to recapture Ash, but to gently recondition his wild boundaries. They placed scent deterrents around camp zones, and used ultrasonic call boxers to play the sounds of bears, Eva and thunder to encourage him to steer clear of populated areas. Ash responded. The very next week, his tracks appeared farther north, deeper in the untouched wilderness. He'd moved, as if understanding he didn't belong near fires and laughter. But he'd left a message in the form of deep scratches carved into a lodgepole pine tree, just 400 yards from the student camp, the type of territorial marking lynx make to assert dominance. Meanwhile, Ash's story began making waves. A Denver-based documentary crew started filming a short series on animal survival, using Ash as their anchor story. They reached out to Lauren Nichols for an interview. She was hesitant at first. The moment had been hers, private, painful, sacred, but eventually, she agreed, speaking softly to the camera on July 8th from the very canyon where she found him. "I wasn't supposed to be there that day," she said. "I changed my hiking route that morning. I keep thinking, if I'd stuck to my original plan, Ash would have died alone. I don't know how you carry something like that." Her voice cracked, "But I'm glad I was there. He changed me. Maybe I changed him." The documentary aired in late August. Donations to the Wildlife Rehab Center. The Colorado Parks and Wildlife Department issued a new grant to expand the Dominguez Reserve. Ash had become a symbol not just of survival, but of the delicate balance between wilderness and compassion. In October, something unexpected happened. A young female lynx was spotted by camera trap trailing Ash's path. Experts were cautious at first, unsure if it was coincidence, but further footage revealed the truth. She was following his scent markings, lingering in areas he had claimed, and once even captured on video sharing a kill site just hours after Ash had passed through. They named her Echo. By winter, it was clear that Ash had not only survived, but had begun shaping the land around him. Echo was no captive-born animal. She had grown up wild, likely wandered in from the San Juan Mountains. And now, she was bonded, maybe even mating with a lynx once thought too broken to live. Their presence marked a turning point. For years, lynx populations in western Colorado had been dangerously low, but Ash and Echo, two scars in the shape of survival, had become something more. Proof that recovery was possible, not just for an individual, but for an entire species. As snow blanketed the canyon again, in January 2025, a new set of prints was discovered near a frozen creek. Two sets, traveling together, weaving in and out of spruce thickets. No signs of injury, no hesitation, just motion, bold and sure. And so, Ash lives not just in the camera traps and forest trails, but in the hearts of those who believe nature is still worth fighting for. From the girl who refused to leave his side to the campers, who unknowingly witnessed a second chance, to the teams, who stitched bone and hope together with nothing but stubborn faith. This story, isn't just about an animal. It's about us. If Ash's journey touched you, if it stirred even the smallest ember in your heart, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. Every view, every click, is a ripple, a way to keep stories like his alive. A way to remind the world that, even when the wild cries out, someone still listens. Thank you for being that someone.